Greetings, I'm Dr. Sean Reed, author of the Dating Toolbox, available on Amazon.com. So if you like what you hear and see today, please hit the like and subscribe button. So today I want to talk about the fact that women love dangerous men, or I want to explain why women love dangerous men and how we as men can use this fact to increase our success with women. Now, I want to be very clear about one fact, about one thing. I am not advocating violence. As a matter of fact, I'm advocating the opposite. We should always avoid violence. We should not fight, right? We should be kind. We should be loving. We should be gentlemen, especially when it comes to women. Never, ever put your hands on a woman. And I also argue the best way to go through life is never to ever put your hand on another human being. However, unfortunately, life isn't always so easy. And for men, it is critical, even though we are nonviolent, it is critical to develop the ability to use violence if necessary. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is how you can learn to become a peaceful yet a dangerous man, a man with the potential of violence, and this will increase your value with women. It goes back to the discussions I had about mindset, confidence, and how you frame the world is critical. So the first thing we need to talk about is why. Why are women attracted to dangerous men? And as with so many other things, the explanation is evolutionary. Women evolved to be attracted to men capable of violence. Why? Because it increased your chance of survival. If a woman had children with a man who was capable of violence, he could protect her from other people and their cultures and from predators. Okay, so the ability to protect and provide for hunter-gatherers was critical. And remember, human beings lived 99% of their existence as hunter-gatherers. So we have not evolved away from what we were 30,000 years ago when we were living in caves. So a man who was capable of violence, who was good at violence, was seen as more valuable because he increased the chance that a woman would survive. He increased the chance that her offspring would survive. So that's why women are still attracted to this quality. But again, you guys, the catch-22 is we want to be peaceful. What I have found over the years is that I trained in martial arts. I started wrestling in high school, and then I trained in mixed martial arts for 17 years. What I found, and then I also trained in weapons. We'll talk about that in a moment. What I found is that the more proficient I became at martial arts and the potential of violence, the more confident I became. And as a matter of fact, the less necessary it was for me to engage in violence. So let's just be clear what I'm talking about here. Many years ago when I was a young man, I had this girlfriend named Tina, who I still talk to on Facebook 40 years later. Tina was absolutely gorgeous and would dress pretty provocatively. So we'd be walking down the street and guys would catcall and whistle at her. That is not an excuse for violence. In that situation, take that as a compliment. Smile back. What I'm talking about is a situation where more than a decade ago, an attempted home invasion was made upon my home and upon my wife and upon my son, who was very young then. And because of my extensive training, and yes, part of that training was in weapons, because of my extensive training, I was able to protect my family from that situation. So let's talk. And so the bottom line is developing the ability to be successful at violence increases your ability to be successful with women. So let's talk about the 4 basic areas that lead to the perception that you're a man capable of violence. And we talk about the first one, height, all the time. Taller men are seen as more capable of providing and protecting than shorter men. That's the reality. It's not fair, but that is a reality. What I'm telling you, however, there are ways to compensate for this. There are ways to compensate for height. Okay, and that leads to my next three: muscularity, empty hand fighting ability, and weapon fighting ability. So yes, height is at the top of the list. If you're 6'2", you automatically have an advantage in the dating market. But there are equalizers. For example, one of the best guys I ever sparred with was only 5'8" and maybe 170, 180 pounds. He was also a professional mixed martial artist, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a very good kickboxer. So again, there are ways to compensate for that. The first I want to talk about is muscularity. Okay, if you're 5'9", 5'8", and you become a gym rat, you develop 190 pounds of solid muscle with low body fat, you are going to be seen as more capable of protecting. Okay, so the first thing we do, we get to the gym. We start weight training. As I've argued before, and later on I'm going to have more videos on this. I was a competitive bodybuilder. I've been weight training for 49 years. So at some point, I'm going to do some more detailed videos on bodybuilding. But for right now, let's simplify it. And if you're new, get to the gym. Start weight training. Start at just 3 days a week. Don't start training 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, because you're going to overload yourself. We want to build patterns of success here. So get to the gym, even if it's only for an hour a day, 3 days a week. Start weight training. I would probably suggest that pretty soon you go to 4 days a week, and then we'll talk about splits. How do you split you're going to have to split you're not going to train your whole body in one day. So you may do upper body one day, lower body the other day on a 3-day split. You go to a 4-day-a-week split, you may split your body over three different types of workouts: a push workout, a pull workout, and a leg workout. Again, we'll get into more detail on this later, but get to the gym, start weight training. The next thing we want to do is develop your empty hand skills. Now, this is you're probably starting to think, well, gosh, don't I have to spend at least a year here, a year here? Yes, this is not a process that's going to happen overnight. And I've said this 1,000 times. Becoming successful with women is not something that happens overnight. It's a process that takes time. It can take many years, but if you do the work, you're going to get better. You're going to continuously move forward. So the next thing, once we become regular gym rats and we start weight training, we put on some muscle, then we're going to develop some empty hand skills. And again, later I'm going to have more videos on this. I trained, like I said, for 17 years. I've trained with some of the best people in the world, many professional mixed martial. I never fought professionally myself, but I was halfway decent, and I trained with lots of really good guys. So you're going to develop empty hand skills. There are several ways to approach this. Some guys will join a mixed martial arts gym and start training in multiple arts. I generally don't recommend that. What I recommend, the first thing I recommend is, if you're very young, is to start wrestling before high school. Build a base, start wrestling when you're young, ideally like 10 or 11, and wrestle through high school. Many of you will not have that opportunity, and it's hard to find wrestling when you're older. Also, wrestling is very rough. It's one of the roughest martial arts. Probably for most of you, for most of the people watching my videos, a better option for grappling would be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, but you're going to start with one art. There are generally two categories. There's striking and there's grappling. Okay, I don't care which one you pick one. For striking arts, the best are probably boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing. Don't start studying some esoteric art. Study the styles that are proven in mixed martial arts. So do 1 year of striking. Okay, then do 1 year of grappling. If you get a year of striking and a year of grappling, you're going to have a good base. You're going to have probably enough that's going to see you through any self-defense scenario. Okay, so get in and start studying martial arts. We don't limit ourselves to a year, but when you start out, commit yourself to 1 year of a particular style. So do 1 year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then do 1 year of Muay Thai. Then after that point, you might pick boxing, or you might pick something else, or you might still continue in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It takes 10 years to get a black belt. So you will you can continue to progress in those arts, but get started. Start in one, do it for a year, start in either striking, then do a grappling for either a year. Finally, we want to study weapons, okay? Unfortunately, we live in a dangerous world, and you might be in a situation where your loved ones need protection from multiple opponents, okay? Life is not like a movie. You're not going to study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and be able to fight 3 people. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will teach you how to fight 1 person. The way to deal with multiple opponents is through weapons. So for most people, my advice is to learn to study handguns. Get good at shooting, okay? Fortunately, when it comes to handguns, you can actually get pretty good in a fairly short amount of time. When I started studying handguns, the first thing I did is I took a 4-hour course from an NRA instructor. Then I took the 8-hour course we have here in Texas for getting your concealed weapon license. Most of that was training in safety. If you start training in handguns, you'll learn that they are obsessed with safety. So a lot of the things you see on TV or coming out of Hollywood where people, drop a gun and it shoots someone, you'll learn that all that's nonsense, and that really, most of your times in some of these early courses are spent on safety. After that, I took an 8-hour tactical course. I actually took 2 8-hour tactical courses. I was going to the range every week. So by 6 months, I had become pretty darn proficient in firearms, okay? I recommend that, guys. Again, this is going to be controversial, but if you have 1 year, you go to the gym for 1 year, you do 1 year of striking, 1 year of grappling, 6 months with firearms, now you have become a man capable who's potentially dangerous, and you're going to be able to protect your family. That's the idea here, okay? Also, I'm a big fan of blades, edged weapons, okay? Going into the club, you can't bring a gun with you in a situation where you have a gun, but you can take a blade. This is highly concealable. This is known as a spider coat. It folds up like this, becomes accessible like this, and this is an extremely dangerous weapon. If you can find a Filipino martial arts system. Study in that system. Again, these Filipino martial arts systems have a reputation of being very complex and esoteric. That's not true. The first thing I learned were very, very basic things. And again, you can get pretty good within 6 months. Okay, so my video is starting to run long. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to cover everything in detail, but women love men who are dangerous. Women love men who are capable of violence, okay? We don't engage in violence. We always do everything we can to avoid violence, but you need to study and become good at it. If you are, it's going to lead into your mindset and building confidence and value. All right, guys. So again, if you like what you saw and heard today, please hit that like and subscribe button, and thanks for listening.